Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Travis Told You. My name is Travis Town. The usual, you know how it goes and stuff like that. As I'm talking, I better double check. Travis Told You. There we go. We're all unmuted. We're good. Oh boy, didn't want that to happen again. Yes, so this is something where I will say too, because I always feel bad sometimes. And I feel like I try to say it, but this video will be streaming. So if you're putting in stuff in my chat, I'll probably check on it, maybe respond, but I will not be able to respond throughout the show and everything like that because I was going to do this live, but I was having internet issues. It was just being a little funky. No idea why. And it wasn't luckily classic old school traps with the router. I think it was just like a general problem. So recorded this in advance, drop it later and stuff like that. So I hope everyone is having a good September 21st, I guess, edition of this. And again, if you're wondering, same thing, why are you doing another one? Well, I am home again. The kiddos are still sick. I got Ellie and Logan. How my daycare works is if you're at a certain fever, you cannot go to that daycare, which makes sense. Don't want people getting sick and stuff like that. So they're a little bit lower today. So I thought, okay, well, I'm going to record this while the lady's still home and while she's watching kids and stuff like that. So, as usual, just go down below and find everything you need to know about GeekVerse, the links, the video, the audio, everything, and most importantly, Patreon, which Patreon has tons of stuff going on right now. You're about to be able to vote about what Halloween movie we're going to be retroing, the date of, we're doing our first ever movie watch along, with patrons on the phase 2 or higher. We talked about this in the town hall where people are wanting commentary tracks. So we're kind of finding a way in the middle of, well, we can do that, but let's also have some fun. And we even have some in Discord. You guys ever done that before? It's well, look for it. So October got lots of stuff, but right now, within the last 7 days, you've had four Patreon exclusives, 2 originals, 1 After 9, and 1 Bread and Butter. That's all about the MCU, and we ranked Phase 5 and 6 by excitement. The originals, we talked about Zoas, we talked about Taylor's car flooding. I don't even want to spoil the story, but let's just say he had some trouble with a big canister of water. And then After 9 was great. It was a smaller one. It was just us and S Bubs, but it was fun just to catch up and chill a little bit. Always more the merrier, but we've had that happen before, a couple where people just can't make it and it's just one person. It's good because you just get to have a very concise conversation, but it's always good to chat with S-Bubs and stuff like that, the guy in the chair. So, but hopefully next After 9, the next After 9 is going to be the movie watch along, so I hope people join. We're going to be doing the 2005 Venom. Now you might be wondering, 2005 Venom, there's a whole After 9 episode about why that came up and this movie and the meme about it. So we're gonna do that, watching a bad horror movie, which I think should be some fun. So everything. We're gonna be reviewing Andor, She-Hulk, Rings of Power next week. Don't worry, darling, tons of stuff, so just look out. I actually don't know, I'm sorry, patrons, I don't think I put out a schedule this week, but we just got lots of stuff going on. I've seen Andor. We'll be reviewing that. I've seen Dahmer, which we're going to talk about today. But let's get into this because time is of the essence. Right now I'm working against the clock. But let's start with the main topic, Black Adam. So I'm recording this officially a month away. So we've had, and at this point when I'm recording this, we've had 2 teasers come out. Yesterday there was one I think called Darkness, and then this is the one called Legacy. So there's 2 funny things about them. Let's start with just the minor one, the one that came out today called Legacy. That showed a bunch of, it was in the world of heroes and villains, and it'd be heroes, and it would show Superman and the Batarang, Wonder Woman, and that showed for villains like Harley Quinn, and then they showed Steppenwolf. It's the smallest thing of Steppenwolf. It's him breaking the earth or something exploding, but the big thing was for just the Twittersphere, because no one would fucking catch this. I'd even catch it the first watch because maybe it's because I was tired and it was early, but still, it's this is what we're getting hot and bothered about. It's a shot of Justice League 2007, the aka Justice League version of Steppenwolf, and people are having a tizzy about that. And then apparently for some reason, so Rock shared it, and then it was on YouTube, then it got taken down. And some people think it's got taken down because it got disliked a bunch or commented a bunch. Who knows? There's 2 things about that. One, if you're commenting that much about it, I don't know. I get it for the fun and the meme of it, but if you're getting that worried and worked up about it, I don't know. It's such a little thing to me. It's one of those things of just this is actually the past few days the most I've been on Twitter because I've been just at home, watching the girls. They've been sick and stuff like that. So usually, and luckily, most of the time I just film my like put my phone away when we play, but there's no playing. It's it's a lot of couch and just a lot of medicine and stuffy noses. So there hasn't been much to do. I've been doing podcast stuff, catching up, getting stuff ready for Extra Life, which is gonna be fun. So I saw this today. I probably would just completely scrolled past it if I was living my regular life, and I did for the most part. I just got a good laugh. And again, for that, I've always said this because I've talked to a few people, and some people very much disagree. They're like, they're gonna have to make their, put their, line in the sand at some point. They're gonna have to make the decision. No, they're really not. They're not going to. In my opinion, I don't think so. Because why? You already saw today fans being maybe pissed off about, right? I think they'll always. Now, there's going to be stuff that. It's tough because you have things like the two examples. Aquaman, oh, you defeated Steppenwolf. Any movie works for that, right? Because it just ends with them being Steppenwolf and gold in their separate ways. The Justice League 2017 version, the Snyder version works for that. You defeated Steppenwolf right down the line. It's playing it safe. The same way that, or actually, not the same way. Well, okay, here's what I was gonna say. I think that's the same way they're gonna go doing. It's gonna happen going forward. As I trip over all my words. What I'm trying to say, though, is if we see Henry Cavill Superman, which we're going to talk about, I do think it's going to be in the blue suit. Now, you could obviously just say, hey, he was in the black one and he changed to the blue one, whatever it may be, right? But I think they're always, for the most part, going to play it safe until Flash. And then after Flash, when Barry changes a bunch of stuff, then it's like, oh, there's already kind of like a new timeline, right? So I feel like they're going to play it safe until then. I don't know. It's just, I get it. People, it's their ride or die. They live for it and stuff like that. But it's just... who cares? It's just something, a small clip in a teaser that no one's going to really know about. But I will say this. I know there's so many people they will make the Snyder Cut canon. I don't think so. I think there's even rumors that there's going to be stuff in the Flash. But then I thought I heard rumors that it was like, well, it kind of plays it both ways again. So, and I'm fine with that. But you still have to, I guarantee you, unfortunately, at this point, I still imagine that more people have seen the 2017 version than the 2021 version, right? That's just a fact. You go with that. Most theater sequels, stuff like that, they go with the theatrical version because that's what people had seen the most. Even though Jail did not do the greatest, that was probably consumed by most people. They've probably seen on TNT, HBO Max 4, stuff like that. So to me, it makes sense. Now, the first teaser came out yesterday, Darkness, very fun. And it's funny because there's been a good, there's one clip of Rock getting stepped on by Atom Crusher or Atom Smasher, and then Atom Crusher, someone else. And then there's a scene of him just flying, and Hawkman comes just fucking haymakers him. And it's just been funny where people go, oh, look, he said he wouldn't get punched and stuff like that, which is kind of true because there's notorious this thing The Rock won't lose fights. But at the same time, I don't know. He's not really losing a fight there. He's just getting punched. And even then, I know that's a big meme, and I know that's a thing that's apparently true. But if you even look at the Fast and Furious movie, there's a fight where Jason Statham beats The Rock. He breaks his arm, throws out a window. Now, in the middle of that fight, The Rock has to save somebody. So just like wrestling, it's like, oh, I lost, but there was interference. So it's like an asterisk of, yeah, you beat me. But if that person didn't interfere, I didn't have to help that person, I would have won. Rock works like that. The same way if any of these members, I think he could lose a fight, but it's going to be in some kind of kabuki sort of way, right? But these teasers are still looking good. I think they're doing a good job of laying in more of what people liked. They changed the color tone, which that was a thing people were saying. Maybe they just changed it mid-film because they wanted to. But I still think that first trailer we got a lot of comedy. I think even though, what was it, 98% approval rating, whatever that meant, the online chatter, at least for the negative people and the Twitterverse, was, hey, there's a lot of Rock, not a lot, but there's enough Rock comedy here that I'm not really digging it. I think they've completely taken that out. I think the unfortunate thing is they just keep replaying the same lines over and over. The age of hero's never gonna die. My powers aren't a gift. They're cursed. Every TV spot, it's oh my god. It's I don't know if anyone remembers them 2008 or 2001 Planet of the Apes. It always started with Michael Clark Duncan's apes yelling, "Bell your heads," and he'd smash the table. It was on all those spots. So that's just what it reminded me of. Very random fact. But anyway, so there's all this stuff. I think teasers are, good enough. I usually don't watch them, but I've been watching now, especially because we're on Superman watch, right? Which is something that we talked a little bit about, but they've talked a lot about on the vodka stream as far as hey, is that a bad thing? I know Stephen Colbert, I think he wrote an article recently, so check that out, Screen Rant. Friends with him and Amanda, who's, Amanda's always great. She loves my anal glands content. So that's, no anal glands content today with my dog. But he wrote a great article about is the I think it is, or like is question mark, or it is hurting the Superman like hype is hurting Black Adam. And I think that's true to an extent, but I think just for us. I think people like my parents, the GI, they don't know about this. They might hear The Rock say something like, oh, that'd be fun, but then they're just going to see a Rock superhero movie. So I think there's always our bubble, right? The same thing with the Justice League getting mad at that clip. We're in a bubble where we hear this. And even some people don't hear this bubble and stuff like that. So I think that it's interesting, and it feels like more and more, and I'm still taking the approach of I'm gonna believe it when I see it. There's so many people now that flip flop of I don't think Superman's gonna be in there, and I was like that, and that's why I'm still saying taking the, I don't think it's gonna happen, but we are hearing a lot of scoopers hinting and talking stuff. Now we always go back: is it Superman or is it Henry Cavill's Superman? It sounds like it might be Cavill's Superman, but we've been here before. We were here in video game world with the like Superman video games many times, and then we've been here before with Cavill many times that he's gonna be here, doesn't show up, right? I think there's enough smoke to the fire right now, and the line in the teaser that got everyone worked up, and that's why people have kind of said, that's the scene, or it could be the scene. It's him standing, it's a thumbnail that's he's standing in a dark room. It fucking looks very BVS-y, like the warehouse, like that type of like darker blue, rainy sort of weather. It's him saying like no one on this, and sorry, it's Black Adam saying no one on this planet can stop me. Now, at first I 100% get the jump, and I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong, especially now because it's funny that people think that, but then some scoopers or some like even C+ scoopers come out and say, oh yeah, this is it. Then people like I was talking about earlier that were, oh, absolutely, that Superman's not happening. Now I've changed that. You know what? I think it's going to happen. I can never say that I'm going to predict, that can't be a Travis told you. I could come out today and be like, you know what? Superman's going to be in Black Adam. And I can talk about the scoopers just say, oh, I've changed my mind. No, my mind's been influenced by people being like, yeah, I think it's going to happen. Of people of note at least being like, it's looking at least the most likely it's ever looked before, right? So that's where I go, I'm still going to believe it when I see it because we've been there, but enough people are talking about that I think there's smoke, there's fire. I do think it's going to happen, but I'm not going to be sold on that. And that's the line, right? And first I was like, okay, I definitely get the jump to it because that's what you go to. But I still was being like very semantics and being like, well, he said not on this planet. And apparently like someone said like the line might be like, oh, well, I'm not from this planet. So I guess I get it. I was saying like literally like even though he's not from the planet, he's still on the planet. He's still on Earth being Superman, right? And stuff like that. But I get what they're saying and I get what the go with the flow. And I think with me, with it being Superman watches, I looked for that in that teaser. I looked for that, or so in the last trailer. I looked for that in here, and this is like a little bit more of it. But I don't think it's so overt that people like the GA will pick up on it. That's the big question: is are they going to show anything Superman related before? And we've talked about this before, where it's a double-edged sword. If it's an end credit and you show it off, that's a spoiler. But it also raises hype a bit for that movie. But does it raise hype? People go to see it and, oh, Superman was in one scene? That's lame. I feel like I didn't get my money's worth. I feel like the safe bet to me is to not show it right now. Maybe you can drop some hints, give it a few weeks, and then drop it later on. A picture, an image, an HD, 5 seconds of it, especially if the movie's not doing well or if the tracking's not doing well. I'm, we talked in the Discord, I think it was, I can't remember who said it, but someone said Avatar and Black Adam, the movies I have no interest in other than seeing what the box office does. I'm not that far on both of them. I have some interest in the Avatar just to be like, okay, like what have you done this whole time? And Black Adam, I like DC, so I'm always interested in a DC Marvel movie. It doesn't really matter, even if it looks bad. I'm like, okay, I'm in this world that didn't exist at one point in my life. We just got the comic book, so we're getting live action movies. Cool. And we're getting fucking Pierce Brosnan as Dr. Fate. That's 100% right there, I'm in. So I've gone back and forth. I think we'll do a prediction episode soon, but I've gone back and forth as far as how it's going to do. I think I'm more in the camp that's going to do well because when I looked at that box office and saw, okay, we have Halloween Ends, which is still a different audience, but Halloween Ends is now streaming and box office. It has about, I think, 3 weeks till Wakanda Forever, something like that. So you get your initial week and then 3 weeks after. In that second, third-ish week, you could start peddling Superman stuff to boost tickets a little bit more. So, and even then I think it boosted a little bit, but I think people are smart enough to know that, okay, he might not be in it a lot. Remember they tried to do that with Apocalypse? They showed like the claws for Wolverine, and I don't think that like boosted up a bit because I think enough people know, oh, it's cool, but usually we get that small tease at a first trailer and then we see more. I do think Henry Cavill being in the film will Like if he was in the, like let's say they made a Black Adam 2, it definitely would help. I don't know how much it will help because I never got a good gauge on. I still don't as far as the DCU and the Batman Superman stuff. There's all this hubbubaloo about these characters and these actors coming back, right? But like, let's say if they were to let many people pitch that, hey, let's do Batman and Superman, a team up, a world's finest, and people be like, that could be $1 billion. That's where I'm like, I don't think any billion, like nothing's guaranteed. Because if you had told me BVS wouldn't make $1 billion, but Joker and Aquaman would, I'd tell you you're out of your fucking mind. You're out of your fucking mind. So, and I don't know where, I think general audience, lots of people have seen the Snyder Cut, and it feels like, I think honestly, and this is probably why I agree with him for getting more money, I think Henry Cavill's stardom is more than him being Superman right now. And Superman will always be his role. But I mean, like, if he didn't rise at all and he come back as Superman, I think the movies would do relatively same, which is still very well or lower. With this, I think because Henry Cavill has a bigger audience now. Ben Affleck's Ben Affleck. It's not going to grow anymore. It's not going to diminish anymore. You're a fan if you're a fan. Henry Cavill, between The Witcher, Enola Holmes, Mission Impossible, he's been all over. And I feel like now it's like, oh, I'd love to see him play Superman again instead of, oh, I'd love to see Superman again, which people want. But I feel like he actually does hold a bit more weight. And I feel like that's why there's probably been argues or issues about the money, because he probably goes, hey, I should get this. And like, to me, that's what put them over the top is Cavill right now. Because I think Affleck, you have a good gauge. And I feel like Pattinson's Batman is the main Batman. So you got Affleck there, but I feel like they're going to go and see that. So it's interesting. It's just a question of, like, do I think they teased this? Yes. And do I think it could be that end credit or scene of Superman? Yeah, that's what it's sounding like. But even then, like, I think they teased it for us, because the GA, I don't think most of them are going to pick up on this unless you hit a Superman theme or show a picture. I don't think they're going to go, oh, he's talking about Superman, unless you've heard The Rock in passing talk about Superman. So we got, man, a month, less than, I guess, because Thursday screenings. And that's what is strange, because like the whole time, and I imagine this is where I will say for everybody, if you don't want to know at all, even if you consider what I'm talking about a spoiler, I would say that week, if you are in the Twitter bubble, a week and a half out, whenever they start screening and doing like international stuff, get off of Twitter, even watch YouTube, because this scene will get out there if Cavill's in there, even if Superman's in there, whatever is in there, if it has something to do with the Son of Krypton, it will leak very, very quickly. The same way as Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, half the scenes were on YouTube before the movie ever came out. And that's how, luckily, I didn't see any except the web shooter scene in the lab when they were comparing. And I didn't even watch it. It was just like, I would go upload GeekVerse stuff. It was like, the three Peters compare the web shooters, which was fine because, like, we knew they're in there. And I saw a bunch of other No Way Home this, No Way Home that. It's like, okay, I don't want to do that. So stay off YouTube in those moments. And so I do think it's a tease. Is it going to pay off? That's the question. Is Black Adam going to pay off? That's the question. This is the part of box office comic films that I love when we're in this territory of same way, like Aquaman, this movie could come out, make a fucking $1 billion. It could be huge. Like, maybe for some reason it just works, right? Because The Rock is good at what he does. And I think The Rock always gets that, oh, I'd like to see him. So, and maybe him playing a bad guy helps a little bit. I know all of us feel, he's not going to be really playing a bad guy. But to the marketing, it's trying its best to make it seem like that. So we will see. So let's take our first ad break, and then we're going to be back with the other side of the coin. So we'll be right back with some Marvel news. And we're back. So let's start with this one. Let's get this rumor out of the way, because I got stuff about Punisher and Jessica Jones and Damon Lindelof, and this one being the X-Men. So there was a plot description that came out, or a plot idea, whatever, synopsis from Screen Geek, and I think it was posted like 4chan or something like that, and it was pretty much just saying that, hey, this is going to be the general outline of the X-Men film in the MCU. So you might have seen this around. If not, it doesn't spoil anything. It just gives base points. And if you haven't seen it around or have, I'll just tell you that I don't think any of this is true. Not a second of it, because they're saying. So I have like kind of three, to me, red flags here. The first one being it was adapting Astonishing X-Men. Now, what I could believe is if, let's say, they're sticking with X-Men, they go, hey, we want to call it the Astonishing X-Men. I've always fucking loved that name. I do like Uncanny too, so I'm down for that. But the Astonishing X-Men, there's just something that feels so prestigious and, I don't know, just higher class than everybody. I'm not trying to talk in an elite way, but it just feels like they're almost in that godlike tier material, right? But I could believe that. But the problem with Astonishing X-Men, which I read and I actually really, really enjoyed, loved the art in there. It had a very different sense of that story. It felt very, thriller-ish at times, especially that first run. It felt very thriller-ish. So I really like Astonishing X-Men, much like I like Avengers. What do those have in common? And I mean, Avengers, the film, they're written by Joss Whedon. And that's where it's different, because you're always going to have some people problematic that they've written something you want to adapt it. But I feel like, yes, they haven't completely like scrubbed his name from stuff, but I think they've read the room enough to go, Joss Whedon kind of has like a bad name going around. So I don't know if they'd want to go to, hey, we're going to adapt this story of what this guy did. But the thing is, okay, even if that was the case, let's say, we'll get past the Joss Whedon of it all. We will adapt this because it's a great story. And that's fine. You got to do that sometimes, right? We talk about actors, directors, might be assholes and whatnot, but might have a talent. Why I don't believe it is the storylines in Astonishing, especially the ones they listed here, was The Gift, The Cure, and then also one where there's aliens coming down to invade. And I read these, but I read these around the time they came out. I think maybe a year after, because around Ultimate Spider-Man is when I was actually starting to buy like issues, like weekly issues, and sticking up to date and stuff like that. I know it's not the same time, but I just make around in those eras. That's when I was starting to do it, and there my grandma's place, like somewhere locked away and stuff like that. I should reread them, because again, art style, I really like the way like even Beast looked, really worked for me. And even the team, to me, it's like the leaders are like Cyclops and Emma, which I would actually not mind. I would love it if Emma Frost was in there, do that Scott dynamic, but I feel like that's a lot of baggage. Now, you could reverse engineer it and make them the first couple and bring Jean in there, and maybe you could make that the new love triangle, because I feel like they are going to avoid the Scott, Jean, and Wolverine love triangle. I feel like doing Emma, Jean, and Scott is better because it's a bit more newer territory. But just that team, I don't know. And even it says like, oh, Wolverine would be on there. It's like same thing. I don't even believe Wolverine will be in the first X-Men. So that's all opinion. And this is opinion too, but I just feel like you're telling me the first storyline in the movie, it's going to, even if it's a trilogy, it's going to be dealing with the alien invasion. So I liked that story for the X-Men where they were at that point in the comic books. And they've dealt with aliens before, but I don't need that right now when you're considering that's the plot of the first Avengers movie. Aliens, like Thanos, technically an alien, had a lot to do with the Infinity Saga. That to me would be the least interesting route you could go right now. I think I want very much to do with the mutants, and that's where, okay, the Cure thing comes in. We can talk about that. I wanted to do with playing with themes of the day, playing with race, social injustices, stuff like that. I don't like the alien thing, kind of takes that away. And if they were to do that, I would just go, oh man, they're just wanting to do the cool X-Men. It's like we talked about before, where even though I don't think they hit the mark with Moon Knight, there was the Batman ripoff, and then there was the schizophrenic personal identity disorder guy that is much more interesting in the character study. They did that. I just don't think they did that well, but I appreciate that they went that route and not just like, our Marvel Batman. Same thing with this. I feel like there's the cool X-Men that we've seen a lot of comics where they're just a cool team with lots of powers, romance, love triangles, fighting villains, right? Or there is the using it as an allegory to teach a lesson, to shine a light on issues of today and in the past, and hopefully not in the future, but lessons for the future. Then versus aliens to me is like you can do Apocalypse in, the X-Men series later down the line like they did with the Fox ones, because you had done a lot of those storylines already. That's when you get in the aliens. Right now, I would not want to see that. That to me would be the most boring option, which I'm not saying they would not do that, because MCU sometimes has picked a very easy option. I would like to see a little bit more there. I feel like Moon Knight picked that, where it was starting to do that character study, but then it got into the grandiose, like, we're going to fight a fucking evil crocodile. It's like, oh, all right, sure. So they've done that. And the second one to me is The Cure. I just don't, the aliens one I could buy them doing. The Cure, you're going to tell me in the first, even second film. Now, I know you're going to say like, oh, well, Fox did in the third. Very different companies, very different landscapes. You're telling me in the first or second film, you're just going to introduce The Cure, which to me would imply that the mutants would have to be around the whole time. Now, you could do something where, like in Miss Marvel, she learned that she was immune, and maybe people want to get rid of it. Sure, and if that's the route we're going, where people are just sprouting up, okay, but then again, that means we lose a lot. Logan wouldn't be around since like World War II or beyond. Xavier and Magneto would, I imagine, have to be old dudes, or they're going to be young dudes that haven't went through any trials and tribulations. I think The Cure to do right away, too soon, and also, as we've learned with Spider-Man, the same reason why I don't think you'll get Scott, Logan, and Jean triangle. Same reason I don't think you'll get Dark Phoenix for a while, or Apocalypse. Look at the Spider-Man films. They fucking avoided, those first two avoided anything to do like similarities at all to the Raimi or the Web series. Now you go, well, No Way Home. that was literally bringing in characters from the Raimi and Webb verse. It's not like, oh, we're going to do a rendition. It's like, no, we're literally going to use Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin. We're literally going to kind of use Jamie Foxx's Electro. So to me, that's not the same. It works out where they are, for their MCU 616 timeline, they're using their own unique characters that haven't been on the big screen. Yes, they've been in tons of media, but on the big screen in a story. I feel like for a while, the good thing was X-Men, you can have decades worth of storytelling, but for the foreseeable future, when they first start that first trilogy, I think they'll do the same. That's why I even question Magneto. That's why I think I'm really hoping that I would love the first trilogy for Magneto to be on the team. Not even has to be a leader. Maybe him and Charles could be the leader together, but I think that would be great if you could see that. And then that was my problem with First Class. So like, I love that movie, but when it was set up, I thought we were gonna get Magneto around on the team for a lot longer. Didn't happen. So I think you could do that, have him there, and then when that break apart happens, it's like, man, we're gonna get the Magneto, Brotherhood of Mutants. Here we go. So I think they're going to avoid a lot of the similarities of the X-Men. So I really don't believe this at all, from being too samey, being too soon, and the riskiness of linking anything to Joss Whedon right now, right? So obviously, if you hear any work, I'm sorry downstairs. People are, they're doing like, what is it? Just, I don't know, fixing up downstairs. So they're like some sawing and whatnot and everything going on, of course. It's been a week. It's been a fucking week. But anyways, don't think it's going to happen. Another thing I don't think is going to happen. Now, this rumor comes from Daniel RPK. I put him in the C+ tier. Gone lots of right. Knows a lot of things, everything like that, especially trailers. He's the GOAT when it comes to trailer dates. With news, he has a good track record, but there's stuff where it's like he's very certain on the scoops, and then there's stuff where this is stuff he's hearing are rumors. And I do think this is a rumor, and I think this is something he's heard. I just don't think it's going to happen. There's a rumor going around right now that Damon Lindelof is being courted for a TV show or movie in the MCU. If you don't know him, he did Lost, and then most recently he did Watchmen, which with Daredevil, you'd have to make some sort of argument back and forth, but I always say that for live action shows, Daredevil and Watchmen are the peak for comic book ones. I think there's ones that get close, Legion, Loki, but when always those two, I think those are the top of the food chain. So in like I don't know, in theory, you say, hey, we got Lindelof, great. I would be over the moon. Never seen Lost, but with Watchmen, I've seen enough of his other work that I love what he's done, especially with Watchmen. And he was smart where it was some of his work, but he also got people that knew the material. And even then, when the show had a lot to do about race, he's like, I need to bring in people that have actual experience with this. I can't tell that story alone. So he's a very smart dude that I think sits himself around talented people. So I guess you could make that case where that's what he's going to do, the same thing, right? With this, whether it be the MCU team, Feige, people he brings in, he's going to situate himself for the best scenario. I still feel like he wants, and I don't think he's like some sort of fucking creative freedom freak where it's just like, there's no good comic book films, you can't do this yet. No, I just feel like from the work I've seen, especially with Watchmen, I feel like he still needs, he could be on the leash, but it still needs to be loose enough. I feel like they would just butt heads too much. Unless there's a character he really, really loves and they were to bend backwards, which could be the case, right? Because Feige not necessarily bends backwards, but there's a great quote where Sam Raimi really wanted a shot, and Feige's like, this is just too cheesy. But Raimi's like, I really want this scene in the movie. And he's like, okay, just keep your cheesy stuff, whatever. And he let him have that, right? It's not so much that. It's just I feel like Lindelof would want the freedom to take certain characters in different directions. And maybe they could give him a project where that would happen. It's just hard for me to think that would work. Now, if they sign on, I think it would work. We've always seen a few directors leave projects and stuff like that, right? So I do think if they make it happen, I will believe it. I just think it would be kind of like Edgar Wright, where whatever it was, there was enough that he wasn't creative. He didn't have creative freedom like he'd want. I feel like Damon would be the same way, in my opinion. I just feel like it wouldn't mesh, but I'd love it to happen. And I agree it's rumor, great it's being talked about. But again, it could just be being talked about. That's where I believe RPK, where, yeah, he's being talked about a Marvel TV show. Doesn't mean it's going to happen. Be like, hey, we want to do this. That doesn't work. We want to do this. That doesn't work. We want to do this. No, that doesn't work either. So that's where it's just like, we also hear these things being talked about, and sometimes they don't even happen, like castings and stuff like that, right? So I'd love to see it, but if not, it's kind of fine. Like I'm not, my heart's not set on it. It's not like when Dan Lin, when the major trades reported it, and it sounded like, hey, we're very close and a deal's gonna be offered, and then it fell through. That's when I get disappointed. If more people start to pick this up, then I'll go, okay. And again, I would love to see what he does. Yes, MCU has some shackles on things you can and can't do. But for the most part, if you get a good, I think, relationship of a team, they figure it out. I think it's all about the right. It's like a football team. It's like a soccer game. It's both footballs, basketball. You just need the right teammates and the right coach sometimes to be put together. I think some people are coached very well, Foggy, and some people aren't. And it's hard to say you can't get talent because I'm not a fan of Eternals. I'm not a fan of Nomadland. But fucking Chloe Zhao is a fucking Academy Award winner. And it'd be like, oh, well, he doesn't really work with these people that, like, sometimes, yes, they get the hired guns, which I think that's what Thunderbolts kind of is. But other times they want a creative vision. And he would have that, Damon. He would have that. It's just, would they interlinked? I don't know. But I hope I hear this on a trade some point in the future. I don't know what he would drag. Like, I guess that's the thing. What would he do? Fuck. That X-Men right there is that is like, oh man, I should never said that. Now, that's the other thing too with the X-Men I was just talking about, where they haven't even hired a writer, and that's all the top scoopers are saying, and that would be the most of it. So they could definitely be thrown out, hey, we're doing X-Men Astonishing, we want to do the Cure. They could have that on board somewhere. It's just more more evidence to me pointing, I don't think that is happening, but with Lindelof, that would be my dream one. Something X related. There's lots of other good projects as well, but something X related with Damon Lindelof. Fuck. Yeah, I'm gonna be disappointed now, but that's what I would very much want, because I do want X-Men to have a name behind it as far as a director. I don't care who he, she, they is. Just someone that we look, you go, okay, fuck yeah, like that. That's a great director choice. Like someone like Blade. I'm interested to see what he's gonna do, but I don't have much. I gotta watch his work. But there's not much of a style there, where like Sam Raimi's doing Doctor Strange, like, fuck yeah, that is 2 thumbs, every finger, all the way up. Not the middle finger, Sam. We love you. So we'll see if it happens. Let's take another ad break, and we'll talk about another MCU that we're going to see if it happens. And we're back. So I should pull up the tweet. Anyways, Daredevil Born Again. Lots of interesting stuff going on around that right now. So obviously we had that thing at D23 where they, had this great moment with Feige and everything like that. I won't be able to fun tweet. I'm just going to slow me down. I'm going to paraphrase it. And then now it seems like that show, Cox said that he's like, they're excited to work on it. Hopefully he's going to be in She-Hulk tonight in the next few days. If not, we know it's coming. But we've had a few rumors now. Now, one was that I think her name's Maya Cox, who is Echo. She's going to be in Daredevil, which makes sense because if the rumor is he's in there, that vice versa. Cool. That works for me. I like Echo enough. Again, I like Echo enough that I don't know if I need a own show yet, but I hope after Hawkeye, I think the setup was not done well, but I hope when I watch it, I go, oh, I love this show. I love the character. Now I see why they needed to do it or want to do it. But it sounds like we've talked about before and that was my pitch when people say the 18 episodes. My pitch was like, let's say you do, 4 that are like a mini arc and then 1 episode that's just like, a fun team up with somebody. And I don't know if that's going to happen, but it sounds like we got Echo and some of these other characters appearing. That could be the case of having multiple team ups. Maybe they do interlink with the whole story, but I don't think so. My theory is it's just going to be like a team up hero of the week, which I'd be completely fine with. So it's getting interesting. We keep hearing more and more about John Bernthal coming back as Punisher. We heard this about a little while ago. And remember, those rumors were, though, it's going to be revealed at D23. Nothing. But now, more people in the C+ tier are putting that out here. And apparently, so if you don't want any spoilers for Born Again, it's not any plot-specific points. It's just characters appearing, not appearing anymore. So what it is apparently, we've heard this in Echo that apparently Matt Murdock was looking for Jessica Jones, looking for something, right? And it's supposed to carry over into his show. Kirsten Ritter has just been hired for that Orphan Black spinoff, just filming that. And the rumor is that her schedule did not work for her to do anything with Born Again. It's just going to be too busy. So whatever storyline they're kind of doing, they're either pivoting or kind of giving that to. And I don't think giving that, because it's even said that Jessica Jones will appear down the line with Kristen Ritter playing her, or could even have a cameo in Daredevil. But it just sounds like they will put an adjacent to that storyline or a hold up by using Frank Castle, played by John Bernthal. It's interesting, right? Because I think it's tough. I feel Bernthal to me right now. I'm mixed feeling because we just recently. I don't care. It's that Shy interview where it just felt like there was a lot for me of just the clips, and I have seen them because I got to give people some people benefit of the doubt, but it just felt like the way things were talked about with the things Shia has done to women and has admitted to doing, they were talked very just like, yeah, I made a mistake and I like put a little too much salt on this steak. It felt too much. There was a couple owning up to it, but it felt very just, oh, that's the way life was and I didn't get it, but now I get it. It's just, there's certain lines for me where once you cross them, I need a lot more. And for Berthnall, I get it. That's his friend. He's giving him that platform. But at the same time, for me, the interview was so just kind of, I feel like you're agreeing with this way too much. And this is where I'll put it aside. I was like, I'm less excited now, like eating the stuff like, oh, he's good friends with Marilyn Manson. It's like, look at this shit that's going on with Marilyn Manson. It's not great company. So before I was completely excited. Now I'm a little like, I don't know. But putting that aside, and that's where I'm gonna have to start putting that aside, and not to be like hypocritical, like why don't you talk about it? Because I can't talk about it every time Punisher comes up in Berthold. I just like all I can do is Berthold. I've said is a top 5 combo casting. You watch his podcast, you watch Real Life, like Margot Robbie. Why I feel like Margot Robbie is probably a better casting than Downey as Iron Man or Reynolds as Deadpool, because those are great. They are pitch perfect casting. But Robbie is doing a better job acting. You know why? I've said this before, so sorry if you've heard it. She's not like that in real life. Same with John Berthold's not like the Punisher in real life. I would hope not. But even his personality, right? That's not the same guy. I think he is even better than Cox as Daredevil. I'm not trying to rank him, but even better as D'Onofrio as Kingpin. He's one of those that when I read it, he is the page come to life. Or when I watch it. Same way with Downey and Reynolds, but the difference to me is they're kind of those guys. Berthold has to tap into something, and he is the last gem. Even Ritter, who I love, which I think is also perfect casting, I don't like need her. I don't need Luke Cage. I don't need Iron Fist. I need Cox and D'Onofrio. And once I got Punisher, then I go, okay, I need Christian Ritter. But I almost wanted him more than anything. Now, the other part of this was, he's going to be in the show, reintroduce him, and it'll it'll set up more stuff for his show down the line. So we're just hearing a lot of scoopers recently just very much throwing out his show, the Punisher show. So it seems like it is happening. And I said this on Travis Told You I think when we started it was either week 1 or week 2 where this came out. I was talking about where it's just, I still have a hard time believe they're doing this type of show. I think, yes, it'll be toned down quite a bit. It's interesting because like stuff like Andor, which is out right now, it's not as adult as Punisher would go, but that was very adult for Star Wars. So we got Deadpool, you got Marvel Zombies. They are doing MA stuff. Andor's not MA, by the way. But maybe there's a chance that they do a Punisher MA. I still think you can make Punisher work in a PG-13 world. It's more about the character's pain than the actual blood and violence and sex and violence and sex and stuff like that. So it's just for me, I had written it off as a non-factor, something that was not going to be happening anytime soon. So I like this. I hope it happens. I think there is like a fun full circle moment we've talked about before where Punisher debuted in the Netflix one with Berthold in Daredevil. Happens here again. And the interesting is, again, Cox says, well, it's a season 1, not season 4. It's a whole new show, which I still think people go, it's a complete reboot. I think much like we just talked about the Justice League stuff, I've said this for a while, where they're just going to play it right down the middle. Because there's been rumors, too, of both the Karen actress and Foggy coming back and stuff like that. The Bullseye actor is rumored. The only one that's not rumored is Ilda Young as Elektra. So I do think they are recasting that if that happens. But it's going to be interesting. Do they know each other? Because if they know each other, you can easily pick up that Netflix continuity and apply it there. If they don't, that's another sign. So eventually they might have to pick a line, choose a spot, a side of the line in the sand, draw a line in the sand. They may have to, but I think they're going to try their best to skirt it. And I think they can, if Daredevil's been active this whole time, they can just say, well, him and Punisher met at some point. And I hope Punisher is just active, because that pissed me off so much. Daredevil, to me, the show, season 2 is an origin for Punisher. Frank Castle. He finds the CD from Micro, finds all these guns, gonna get to work. First episode of Punisher, kills these guys, retires the vest. You go, what the fuck? Season 1 ends, like it looks like he's finally gonna be Punisher. Actually, I guess season 1 didn't really. Actually, I'll say that it didn't. It ended you thinking that, and then the last scene was like, okay, he's gonna try and get help. Season 2 was, okay, Frank Castle gets back in the mix, and it ends with him pulling out his 2 guns, shooting a bunch of criminals with the skull. Like, here we go, he's gonna be Punisher, and it just doesn't happen. He's always Punisher in a say, but I just want I would love a kind of just bi-weekly, not anthology show, but him just taking out criminals. You could have a through line, but kind of like what the first few episodes of Mandalorian was. I'd be down for that with Punisher. That's a show where I wouldn't need to have kind of what I want Boba Fett to be. I wouldn't need to have this overarching story. They definitely could do it, and that would work, and that's fine. But almost like what She-Hulk's doing now, of just Frank Castle taking shit head down of the week. Perfect. Make it Hammerhead, make it Jigsaw, give an overall story, get to it at the end. But I would be down with that. And we didn't get enough of that in Punisher. And that's what I really liked about, it's funny because those were 13 episodes, but that's what I really loved about Dexter, where that was like a Punisher type show, right? And with Dexter, you'd have a few episodes where it's just, yeah, the main stuff's kind of happening, but it's really just about who this bad guy of the week is, and we're going to take him down. And you only got like, let's say, maybe 2, maybe 3 of those. It sucks when you're doing the 22 episodes, because that's where you get like 6 to 10 of them, and you're like, okay, this is filler, I'm done with it. But when you get like just a couple of ventures, cool. And I could take a full 6-8 episode of Frank Castle doing that. So we'll see. Jones, it's good to hear that she's still rumored, because yeah, I do very much want Kristen Ritter back. She's great. I think she'd fit in the MCU perfectly. Like, she's a very quippy type of character, right? So I think it's all good stuff. I like these rumors we're hearing, and only time will tell. So now we got the quick hits. The quick hits, we're going to be talking about some trailers and everything like that. There's one trailer we're not going to be talking about because I forgot to watch it. And you know what? Maybe I'll bring it up. I bring it up. It happened late last night, and my show notes happened late last night and just forgot to. So Hellraiser. Hellraiser is coming out right now, or sorry, it's coming out October 7th, I think it is. And this is a complete remake, reboot, whatever it is. I don't know what it's going to be. I think it is a remake. I think remake, reboot, what's the difference nowadays, right? But it's a reimagining either way. I feel like it has... I feel like... Hellraiser has definitely kind of died down throughout the years, and I feel like that is because we had a lot of straight to DVD kind of lesser than Hellraiser. I don't actually think I've even seen them all, but it was one of those where just a bunch of them were coming out and stuff like that. And I feel you have the first one, which is a classic, but I feel like that's even niche, because let me know in the comments or the Discord or wherever you comment and stuff like that. I feel like it was Saw before Saw. It was Saw in a way where lots of body horror, lots of grotesque stuff, but I always loved the lore around it, and I loved Hellraiser. I love everyone around them and stuff like that. All the demons, all the lore, all the visuals. It's a very cool, creepy, gothic, very demonic sort of world, and it always was interesting, and you just never know what fucked up thing you were gonna see. And I think eventually got more about that stuff. So with this trailer, I think what they did a good job is they made it look completely new. I hope it's gonna be like Prey. Now obviously it still has the same title, but Prey came out new audience, took what you love from the original and brought it to a new world, and it was a success, right? I think October 7th, great slot, early Halloween. Though, like, even we're going to talk about, I think it's Midnight Club, which I'm going to talk about next, which I forgot to watch the trailer. But I'm going to bring it up. That's coming out I think it's Cabinet of Curiosities, where that's coming out like October 26th. It's like, this is not enough time. Like, it's like, people will watch it, but early Halloween is when you want it. Same thing, there's like some, like, what is it? Like The Devil Inside Me, or some sort of exorcism movie coming out like right before Halloween. And it's like, no, you want to get that shit out early, so people the whole month, like, I want to see a creepy movie, because by the time you got just like that week to make your money or get your views, and then it's not till the next Halloween. So October 7th is good. And I think this trailer did a good job of, they're showing off some images, nothing too gross, so I think people will get that as they go in, or maybe they've toned that back. But seeing, like, oh god, why did I made the classic mistake. Someone's going to be in there and being like, hey, you fucking called Pinhead Hellraiser. It's Pinhead. I know. Calm down. I screwed up. It was a mistake. I know I made a mistake. And I'm forgetting the name of, and this one I won't. They have what? They're like Xenoblades or whatever they are. Let's say, what is Pinhead? Let's see. What is he? Let's see. The Cenobites. Right. Thank you very much. That I don't remember, because I like Hellraisers. I've seen the first one I want to say quite a few times, but the most out of all of them, and I like them. I wouldn't say it's like my horror franchise, but this excites me. Having with Hulu maybe a bit bigger of a budget than some of those straight to DVD ones have got, and I think this one was great because it showed off a lot of creepy stuff, a lot of creepy characters. So I'm saying from the point of view from someone that's maybe just heard of this or never seen it, I think the visuals, like even Pinhead, it's always been visually like, what the fuck is going on? That's what got me into seeing Hellraiser, was seeing Pinhead and being like, what is this? Like, how does this happen? That's the same way I saw back in the day, which is funny because the pig mask was not a real character. It was just a mask. But I'm like, why is there a pig putting people in traps? Hellraiser has that. But I think what could be a selling point is the idea of solving this riddle, this puzzle box, because obviously that's a huge element in the other ones. But for new people, I think they're, showing almost like this maze, this quest, and it's getting bigger and bigger, locations getting bigger and bigger and creepier stuff. So you were thinking like the escalation of what's going on is ramping up. So I think that's very well done in the trailer. In the movie, we'll have to see, but in the trailer, I think that it's a solid trailer. Now, and apparently people have said they've heard good things about it, but I just think if the movie matches what the trailer is, I'm happy. That's good. I think I'll probably review that on like, if I have a Trust Told You I will, because I don't know if anyone else, I think I threw it out there. No one was really into the Hellraiser stuff and everything like that. So the trailer looked really good. I'm looking very forward to it. I'm already in my Halloween watches right now, so I'm excited. So let me bring this up. So this is the Midnight Club. 3 minutes. Whoa. We're going to talk about this right now. I'm going to watch it. So this is my bad. I apologize, listeners, because we only do this like with the bigger ones. Not like Midnight Club is a huge one, but it's fucking Mike Flanagan doing horror and stuff like that. I'm very excited. Mike Flanagan to me is the best person in the horror genre right now. Him or James Wan, I'll say that. They go back and forth, but Midnight Club, I can't wait.
I'm
it's
going
like
to Stanford in the fall.
You need to celebrate it. Break a few rules, I think. Just like
I guess
once
turn
in your
I
life.
don't know how old or how loud it gets and stuff like
Are
that.
the
But
odds in my favor? It's not quite
for me
that
to get
simple.
something that is like a Goosebumps Afraid of the Dark that is a bit older, because that's what it was. It was apparently pitched as these kids that are sick in a hospital telling scary stories and stuff like that, right? So we're getting set up. One of the characters has cancer. They're going to this Barclay Center, a house or stuff. Now we're just seeing a creepy person in a hood.
Georgina Stanton. Welcome to Wycliffe.
Oh my god. Now here, after my fucking heart, right there. So our character's she's been brought in, she's being talked to a nurse or doctor. Who is it? It's fucking Heather Langenkamp, Nancy herself, Nightmare on Elm Street, and Mike Flanagan fucking knows what he's doing. But yeah, this stuff is like, that's what I loved about Trick or Treat, yeah, I guess. So that's like to the extreme extent. That's what I was hoping to love about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I'm gonna rewatch it this year, and I feel like the first year I was very hard on it. I think we put in our worst GV movies, and I think I was just so disappointed in it. But I'm gonna try it again, but even then I felt like the aspects weren't there. But the other one, I guess, is also to radar is Fear Street. So I love I thought there was another one recently. I love the more anthology that is kind of like in the kids' vein, but it's for an older audience. That's even why I love Stranger Things, because it had that vibe, right? But Brightcliff, some bad shit.
Win. How long have you all been here?
4 months being able to fucking copyrighted or something like that. So
63 days, 17 hours, and 11 minutes.
You don't know the minutes.
they're just talking about how long they've been there and stuff.
I'm going to die. All of us here are dying. This is a hospital.
And now it's interesting because it was pitched as they're telling these stories and everything like that, but is it stories to the sense that they are anthology, or is it going to have like a main overall plot? That I don't know. I think there will be 1 or 2 episodes of main overall plot, but they're showing a lot of these kids right now.
It's kind of a club.
He said.
You guys sneak into the library every night.
Sneak in the library every night and make
Tell
ghost
stories.
stories.
Ghost sounds better.
Okay, so far it looks like because they're in this hospital, and then whoa,
Welcome to your first official
that was a
night
big
in the
jump
Midnight
scare.
Club.
Girl looking white eyes and very scary. Or are we gonna get some Goosebumps thing where these stories start to come alive and stuff like that? Stories about who people thought were gonna die. And the producer of Haunting Hills, you're gonna get all this stuff.
We do not get to change the outcome.
And so
I don't
far,
care what it costs.
so it looks like it's kind of be a mix. I will say this does look more teeny, which is not a bad thing. We're watching Goosebumps right now. There's some fucking cheesy stuff. Oh, the girl who played the evil nun in Midnight Mass is in here. fuck yeah, she's fantastic. So
And don't put
she's
yourself
great.
and all of us in real
So it looks like it's
danger.
gonna be a mix of them telling these stories, maybe these stories playing into the main story, or having something to do with, like, they come alive or something. It doesn't look like it's an anthology as far as them telling a story and then we go into the episode, which I felt like it was being pitched as, like, Afraid of the Dark, but that's fine with me. I'm all in for this. Everything looks good to me. Like I said, it looks more in, like, the almost older Goosebumps, like I don't want to say like a Riverdale or something, like something like that. Like even some of the scares, like the ghosts look like not as scary as Midnight Mass or Haunted Hill House, but I'm down with the producing cred. Oh, this woman's in her chair, but her shadow's coming alive like Peter Pan. That sucks. Can't do much there. Oh, not looking good for you, lady. Oof, not looking good for the wheelchair lady there. So, but that is coming out October 7th. Oh no. That's going to be the same way as Hellraiser. Well, luckily I'll probably watch that first because I don't know if my lady wants anything to do with Hellraiser, but we will see. And then finally, we have I just want to give my impressions on Dahmer. So Dahmer came out. So man, I've been wrong this whole time, from the announcement, from when I talk about the trailer on the other Trash Told You. So last night Andor's out, and I'm off because I had to take care of the kids. I got to call in to work in advance because I'm not that person. I'm not that person that's going to call 15 minutes before my shift back. I need coverage. No, that's not what's going to happen. I said, hey, kids are still sick, and they already knew, but I said, hey, it's probably going to be a couple of days because this temperature's not going down. But so I knew I was staying up. I went to the gym, came back, and like, well, I'm looking forward to Andor, like, enough. People know I'm not the biggest Rogue One fan, and I think it looks, fine. We'll talk about the review, what I actually thought about it. But I was very much more anticipated for the Dahmer thing because I am a fan of Ryan Murphy's stuff. It's very, very hit or miss, but I like the style. But it's Evan Peters. I've said this before, where there's a lot of Dahmer stories, but Evan Peters in that role, it's gonna be evil juicy, but it's just gonna be something he can just like feast on as far as performance, because he's one of the most underrated actors in the world. People don't give him credit because American Horror Story is some very kooky kind of out there stuff, but how many roles he's done and what he's changed up and stuff, he's a phenomenal actor. So I go to put on said movie, and I'm like, because I'll watch that and then I'll go to sleep. Where Andor was like an hour and a half, but really I guess it would have been like, I imagine a movie would have been an hour and a half, 2 hours. But I also had the idea of, hey, I could watch Dahmer tonight and watch Andor with the kids and stuff like that, which I did. So I could watch that, and that's fine. They didn't really care that much about it. Lone actually liked more the last episode, but still, it's like, 'cause it's more like a just live action, not much crazy stuff going on. So I was like, well, I can watch that in the morning with them and watch Dahmer tonight. Click on Dahmer, and it's a series. A series, this must be something else. I click on it and I go, oh no, I see Evan Peters. And then I scroll down a fucking whole 10 episodes. Oh my God. Now, saying this, seeing episode 1, seeing how they're doing it, completely fine that. I love TV shows. It's great. I was just in the mindset of, oh, I'm going to fucking watch Dahmer tonight. I'll review it on Trash Told You. Can't wait. Not so much. But I did watch the first episode, and I did turn it off because I wanted to be up early enough to do this. And here's my glowing recommendation of the first episode. I would have kept staying up and watching all this. If you're not in the world, if you're not that curious about serial killers, if you don't like uncomfortable stuff with sexual things or just the serial killer stuff, anything to do with like cannibalism, anything that if you watch true crime stuff that even freaks you out, or movies that feel too realistic, this is that. And I will so far pay credit to Ryan Murphy. Watching episode 10 is gonna fucking crazy, be dream sequences everywhere. But Ryan Murphy can be great. Sometimes he does go over the top. He goes too far. But when he's pulls back a little bit and just holds some of that very out there stuff, he can be great. And a good example to me is OJ, The People versus OJ, where there's humor in there, but to me, he played it 100% straight, and he didn't let it get too Ryan Murphy. I've been a fan of Popular, been a fan of, love Nip Tuck, one of my favorite shows. Saw a bit of Glee, saw everything of American Horror Story, good, bad, and ugly. There's times where he goes too much. I think it's the same way people would say about a Taika or James Gunn, but his style's not comedy. It's just kind of like really grossing things out, or very over-sexualized for the sake of it. Very, I'd say, cheesy, campy, and it just, there's some, like, even when I'm watching American Horror Stories, there's some stuff where you go, this was almost great and you went too far with it, or the ending was too much, or you just too much birthday, or you made it too over the top. Like, it just sometimes he can do that, right? But I still love the style because I always said this: he gets great acting out of people. It's great sets. It's usually shot well. The score and music's always usually great. And so I always have a barometer of like, no, I'm gonna like something Ryan Murphy. It's like pizza. You know you're gonna like it. Just how much are you gonna like said pizza? You know. So watch this episode. It is very held back. It's very minute in a good way. Peters, to me, if you appreciate Peters like I do, he brings everything you're thinking he's going to. Now, I'm somebody, as I've talked about before, don't know why. It's just, like I've said before, it was stuff in school, and especially once American Psycho, I read that, and Dexter, and I've read everything as well. And then now you got true crime, all this stuff. I am fascinated by serial killers in that world, not so much of, hopefully not in a dark way, but it is, I think, why other people are like myself, where it's just like, we all should be normal human beings. How do you get to the point of this becoming your life? And you literally turning into a monster. I know people don't say monsters are real, but it's like decapitating people, eating them, stuff like that. Like, these are monstrous acts, and especially some of these people. And what I was worried about in the trailer and what they're doing is apparently the pictures of the first episode, and I don't want to reveal it because they're doing the story in a way that I was like, at first I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about it, but now once I've kind of seen the outline, I'm like, okay, I'm looking forward to seeing. It's a different way of telling the Dahmer story. And when they had said, I'd seen this in the trailer, but the synopsis I'd seen at like Twitter, I think it was the second trailer that they put out the next day, which was like, why? But it was, hey, this is going to be more from the victim's perspective of Jeffrey Dahmer. Now, for me, if you watch stuff, and I watch tons of stuff with Dahmer and interviews and everything like that, he is a very mild-mannered, docile type of guy. He's not like Bundy, who is very aggressive, very cocky, very arrogant, and he always said he was innocent. He's not like fucking Helter Skelter. Why am I Charles Manson, who was very intense and out there and just in your face. And then you John Wayne Gacy, who was like very quiet demeanor, very like he like would say some very like kind of offensive things, but like he was known for kind of messing with your mind a little bit. He was a bit more, I guess you could just say, very creepy and stuff like that. Dahmer, he was creepy in the sense of he would just say things matter of fact, and you go, that's not the way. If I said, yeah, I took my daughters out for a walk, he'd be like, yeah, I killed this guy and I ate his foot and then I did this. Ed Gein is the one I feel like I know the most about his personality, but Ed Gein was similar as far as cannibal, doing stuff, doing terrible things to his mother and things like that. Dahmer definitely knew something was, I think, wrong with him, and I think he felt remorse about that, but it also felt like he couldn't feel enough of it to stop it. It's just like, I'm a monster and this pains me to be a monster, but I gotta be a monster. And I'm not saying that's right. The guy got what he deserved, caught everything, stuff like that. Not trying to say, oh, we should paint them in a good light. No, because they've affected hundreds, thousands of lives with family members, stuff like that. It's just the way that what I was looking for performance wise is, when I heard it's going to be from the victims, in the trailer, it was very intense Dahmer, which that can happen. If obviously you're a fucking serial killer, it's going to be intense stuff and everything like that. But that was my worry, is they're just going to really play up the monster side of Jeffrey Dahmer and not saying, oh, to paint him in a bad light. No, paint him in a fucking bad light. No, completely. I meant more in a sense of for realism, as far as like to play something close to life. Now, if you want realism completely, watch a documentary. I get that. But I still like it to have somewhere based where it's like, if you just make, the whole time he was completely evil on a run. No, that's not the way it was. He was very awkward. There was a Dahmer movie a few years ago that I can't remember. It was right when his parents were getting divorced. And it's funny because this seems like most of it's taking place after that. So you kind of watch it as like a sequel, but he was very awkward. He was very nervous. He didn't really understand a lot of things going on as far as just social interpretations, but he was smart enough to know what was good and bad. And he was smart enough to know, like, he was good at kind of tricking people. And even though he was a docile guy that people put their guard down around, he almost knew that. And that's where it's like, yeah, that's where the guy's monster. He was cunning in that aspect, right? And you watch his first episode, the way he does things, and this is from an account of someone that survived, so you would imagine it's pretty close to what happened. I would hope. I don't know. I need to look more into it because it's been a few years since I've done research again. Not that I should get back into that realm, but it is just something that, much like the rest of the world, it is an interesting topic, right? Because it's just how does this shit happen, you know? Because like that's not a thought that myself and luckily no one I know like has crossed their mind and stuff. So it's just like, how do you get to that point? And it's just, and also it's fascinating too, like how long they got away with, and they're definitely playing that up in this episode as far as like he's living in a black community, and it's kind of, well, he's a white guy, he wouldn't be doing these things. And I don't want to reveal how the episode ends because I was surprised what we're doing with the show and the way we're telling the show. And you probably will pick up on it. It's not like a huge reveal. You fucking know Jeffrey Dahmer's story. You know he's not around anymore. You know he gets caught. We know Dahmer. So it's not like a, oh my God, there's this huge twist that he's a monster. No, it's like a literal monster. But what I was saying is this episode is more from his perspective. So I think the rest episodes are going to be from the victims' perspectives or people that got away. And then this one was from his. And you did get to see that side that is a bit different, that is a bit quieter, that is a bit awkward. But then you see how he flips that into being very dangerous. But then you also see how he flips into being very lost. And him being a homosexual was a huge issue as far as coming to terms with that. And I think that was a huge issue of like taking that out on people in a way. Like he would feel like he could be gay but not at the same time, and you see a lot of that, and you see how vulnerable he is in this situation, and it's a good build up. So far episode 1 I'm loving. I will come back to this because I'll either talk about it on GeekVerse or something like that. I'm gonna watch it all. Now it's fucking like 8 hours, not as fast as I wanted to. Really wish it was. Well, I can't say really wish it wasn't that. I was just the mindset of the movie. Now I've seen the episode, I'm very much happy about that. It's just because it sucks that we have so much stuff out right now as far as stuff we're reviewing, but I will carve out a corner to make sure I'm watching this. So yeah, if you have any interest in, you know, those factors, Murphy, Peters, Dahmer, serial killer, something spooky for Halloween season, definitely. But I will say, like I said, it is realistic spooky. It is realistic horror and killing. It's not something you can put on and kind of escape. It's kind of that stuff where, fuck, is my like door locked? Or it's that stuff of like, yeah, I don't want to, you know, meet strangers. Or it's the stuff like, and this is a legitimate thing, when my girls turn 7, each one of them, they will be going on some sort of self-defense, judo, MMA, stuff like that, because this world's just fucked up, and I'm not, you know, I can only do so much, but at least give them some sort of knowledge of like, hey, if anything happens, this is what you need to do. And that's where it's definitely one where I was fine with watching one episode, because you feel heavy after it, and you feel gross, and you feel icky, and they have a lot of those moments where it's just, it does stick with you. So check that out if you're into any of that stuff. So let's take our last ad break, and then we're going to talk about some good wrestling stuff. We're going to talk about Raw and Bray Wyatt. I know I talked about him on Thursday or Monday or whatever it was, but there's even more stuff happening, so we'll be right back. Let's see, and we're back. So you know what? I'm actually just checking anything right now because my wrestling notifications are going off. Did I miss anything? No, okay, nothing big. But yeah, tonight AEW has Arthur Ashe. I was gonna try and do a show after actually, but what was I gonna say? But I wasn't sure if I could do that tonight, because we got Andor and She-Hulk, so that's why I did it. So I might talk about Arthur Ashe another time. We'll see how big it is. But they got a stat card coming up. Like the show's great. I talked about on Monday. The Rampage is great. I don't catch every Rampage, but I will this one. But so Raw happened. Another good Raw. We're gonna talk about the Bray Wyatt stuff in a second, because this is the shit I fucking love about Bray Wyatt and what I love about wrestling. But Raw was good. I think it was like a more weaker episode, but still stronger than stuff I'd seen them before. I think the biggest problem is, and this is not a huge, like, shocking sentiment, other people are saying this as well, the amount of interference finishes is tough, because I get it, right? You have two people like Kevin Owens versus Austin Aries, or you have Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins. We talked about this with the Black Adam stuff, right? Where they're two big stars, they're two mainstream stars, you want to build them, you don't want them to take a full-on loss, because that will hurt their standing in a story. That's where then I go, okay, right now Seth Rollins is a feud with Matt Riddle, right? So if he's going to lose, you don't want him to lose to anybody but Matt Riddle. Because if he loses to someone before that, it's like, well, the match doesn't mean as much because Matt Riddle's trying to knock him off. So I get that. Then I would say do Bobby and Seth after Matt Riddle and have Seth just lose. And even though Seth, like, yeah, you don't want him to lose, sometimes taking a clean loss is fine. I think Seth is bulletproof. He's lost to fucking Cody Rhodes 3 times in a row. I think he'll be okay, you know? And I think that's where then you can have the loss and it's not in the middle of a feud. And you had that where Matt Riddle interfered, and you had that where in Kevin Owens' austerity, Gargano interfered. And it's of two ways because both of them like cheat beforehand. So you're like, oh, it doesn't really make it that, oh, someone else interfered so they lost. Like, no, they cheated beforehand. So really it still makes the good guy look good because, yeah, you had some help, but they were already cheating. So it kind of like balanced it out, right? It's just the fact of I knew both the matches were going to end that way. And that's the only thing where it's not a bad thing, but it's like, it's good, predictable wrestling. Now, I think he's doing some unpredictable stuff, which is good, meaning Triple H in the booking. I think it's just in a tough spot right now, and I think it will get better and better, but it is a routine that they do. So I do think that's been the weakest thing in the Triple H era so far. Some people would argue the Logan Paul thing, which people hate, which I guess I do, and maybe that's why I should probably hate it more too. I guess I'm just in a honeymoon stage again with WWE, but I also just feel like they signed him. I get it, but it's at the Saudi show. Whatever, do it there. Let's fucking move on. That's my feeling on it. But and I talk about that money. So I'd say like the biggest con for me with the Triple H one right now is some of the stuff has to be a little less predictable, and some people just got to eat a loss. I know you want people to keep strong, and if that's the case, then don't book that match. Just find something else where someone can lose, make a good story, mini 2-week story, do that. There's not much else going on right now. It's definitely just building to Extreme Rules and Saudi and stuff like that, which is fine. It was a good solid show. The Dominic Mysterio stuff is really fun. What's really fun is, so I think there is a sense of X-Pac heat. If people don't know what X-Pac heat is, in wrestling, you're a good guy or bad guy, right? So if you're like, hey, your job tries to go out there and get booed. Okay. And that's part of the story, right? It's like hating an actor in a role because they're playing a really good bad guy versus hating an actor because you hate the actor and you don't want them in the role. That's what Deflate Dom has going on right now. I feel like people just don't like Dom Mysterio that much, not as a person, but as a wrestler. There's probably something of nepotism there. There's probably something of he's not the greatest and stuff like that. And there's maybe over the storyline. And he got the mic. He's in this group called Judgment Day with a bunch of other, misfits, and he got the mic and they just booed him. They wouldn't even let talk, super loud boos. And it's those type of boos where it is the go away X-Pac. We genuinely don't like you or don't like you in this role because maybe we're bored with it. But you can. And that's what's funny about it is Vicky Guerrero, who there was a storyline back in the day where you had Rey Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. They were best friends, but they were fighting, and Eddie revealed that, well, actually, Dom's my son, and I just adopted them to Rey because they couldn't have a baby. Not true at all. But in WWE canon, he's like an adopted son and stuff like that. It's very fun. But Vicky Guerrero was Eddie's wife, and she had that go-away heat, and she would just get booed and booed anytime she had the mic. But they turned that into a storyline to have fun with it, and the heat was really good, so they rolled with it. I think people booing Dom that much, that they're going to get them to roll with that. And I've loved everything they've done. Dom still needs a lot of work in the ring and on the promo wise, but if he has Damian, Finn, and Rhea to kind of, hold him up and help him, everything like that, I think there is a way to do that. And I'm loving all like the sexual innuendo stuff with Rhea Ripley and him and talking about, oh, I've heard the stories. Wrestling fans know what I'm talking about. I've heard the stories and we're going to go out there and have a good time, and calling her mommy and poppy, like all good, fun wrestling stuff. And then they teased that AJ and Finn were gonna have a feud, which was weird because like a few weeks ago they already beat AJ and Dolph, so maybe this is gonna lead to Gallows and Anderson coming back. That could be fun. That really could be fun, actually. Of Finn, Damian, and Dom, the Judgment Day versus like a version of the Bullet Club. That will be a good time. So that will get me more interested in this. We'll see what happens, but I like it enough. But other than that, there's not too much going on Raw right now. Just good matches, some good story building. I like the stuff The Miz and Dexter Lumis. Obviously, right now ratings are down, but that's because football's back and football's just a fucking juggernaut. The big thing is, and this is what Meltzer was saying, but I agree with this, where Survivor Series tickets went on sale. It's like it can hold like 12,750 people. They sold like 12,300 or 400 tickets. That's a sign of, hey, people are into the product right now, which is great. Like myself, I'm watching again weekly. So what people are mostly into, though, as far as this week, and this kind of helped them. So I had no idea. Thank goodness for social media. I had no idea. I'm taking off my sweater. I got the Bangkok City shirt. This is a full-on. Do I wear this in public? No. Should I wear this in the cast? No. My dad got this for me. I appreciate it. I've never worn it in public because I just don't feel like I'm the guy that walks around with a Bangkok City shirt, but I am now. And then there's other writing stuff, but I can't really talk about that. That's a whole. You'd have to tune into one of our charity streams from years past to understand that reference. It'd take a lot of time, but there's a fourth wall kayfabe breaking for some people if you are a longtime listener. So at 9:10 9:23 p.m. Someone's walking around the crowd with a QR code. Everyone scans it. People probably thought it was just a fan fucking around, stuff like that. But no, it leads to some sort of video. It leads to a video that is Hangman, and it's spelling. It says something like, I killed the world. It's a bunch of creepy, cryptic shit, right? And it's a White Rabbit. Apparently at the house events, live events, they've been playing the song White Rabbit by the Jefferson Airplane. The Jefferson, there's no the, right? There's no, it's just Jefferson Airplane. I can't be, let's see, Jefferson, yeah, there's no the. I'm like, there's not a the. So Jefferson Airplane, great song. You know, great remix for the last Matrix trailer and stuff like that back in the day, which was just like last year. They've just been playing at live events. People are doing the, lights and everything like that. And the idea is, okay, what's happening? And then it listed 9:23. So that would be this Friday, of course, during SmackDown, which I'm going to be seeing Don't Worry, Darling. So I'm going to miss that one. But there's all these things of like, what's going on? What's the deal? And all this kind of viral marketing. There's stuff like on the picture of Seth versus Matt Riddle in the Fight Club or the Fight Pit. In the background, they have like their Extreme Rules wallpaper, right? Over Seth's shoulder, there's a lantern and fireflies. So there's all this stuff where it's too like, it was White Rabbit. And Bray Wyatt apparently like months ago or something posted something about like Selma, Arkansas or something like that. Like some place. He listed something where it's like, oh, is it nice this time around year? And it's not a real place. Like it's not actually a city. And people like looked it up. And it was this whole article about like demons and monsters and stuff to do with hell and everything like that. And the author, oh, I got goosebumps, was White Rabbit. And see, some people, I've seen this of like, we don't know for sure if it's Bray Wyatt, but like, wouldn't it be great if it wasn't for the internet because we wouldn't be spoiling the surprise? No, this is ramping up. You don't have to. If you are fucking just watching the show, not on Twitter, you have no idea. If you're online, sure, you might know, but you're in the wrestling bubble. If you're a wrestling, like the same way as film Twitter, if you're on wrestling Twitter, you're going to see spoilers. You're going to see leaks. You're going to see rumors. It just fucking happens. Like, it's just like, that. So it's the whole, I wish it would be, then log off. Stop following wrestling people. Follow a few accounts that don't put out spoilers. That's it. To me, I love this. Like, we're digging into this. We're digging into 4 different things, and it's all lining that could be Bray Wyatt, because there was also a quote they said in 2015 about, like, oh, who killed the world? Like, something very similar, right? So, is it him? I think 100%, because it's lining up with other stuff. It's, we talked about Monday. Sean Ross said that he expected him to be back in October. Didn't put in his report, but he expected it. Other people in backstage are expecting it as well. He put in a report. The thing, too, about it is it's like the CM Punk thing last year in August, where there's all these hints dropping, lots of people talking about, but we didn't know. We thought we knew, but we didn't know. Just like Toby and Peter. We thought we knew. We pretty much knew, but we didn't know. Now, yes, when it came to that YouTube scene, then I found out. But I knew. But still, for everyone else, you didn't know 100%, and that's always fun. And that thing with Bray Wyatt, you don't know 100%. The theories look like it. It could also just be somebody fucking trolling us, having a good time. But this is the type of stuff that Triple H was talking about a few weeks ago with Aaron Honey, where he said, like, Bray's mind just works in so many ways. It's traveling 2,000 miles per minute. He's such a smart cat. Now, I think he already thought that before, but this could have already been in the midst of, hey, I want to do this. I want to post this. I want to, like, even the guys that made the Fiend mask, they're posting stuff like visuals and stuff where it's like, why would we be posting these new type of weird creatures and stuff like that? I think that Triple H and him were already talking, and he was pitching like, I got this, and he's like, sure, whatever. I just want you back. You're a great talent, and people love this. Let's do it. He may be playing like 3D chess while Triple H is playing checkers, but Triple H is smart enough to go, I want that on my roster. We need that, because it was just a QR code. They didn't even show the fucking promo on TV, and that's why I think, luckily for SmackDown, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be just more hinting at stuff, I hope. I think eventually you will get more stuff on the actual show. Maybe not, but for something that was just a sign in the crowd, that got the most buzz of Twitter the whole night. So that's why you do it. That's why it's smart. You have all these theory craftings. You have all, look at this, look at that. It's a fun ride. It's much like comic book stuff. We're like, oh, they're hinting at this. What could this mean? Like, it's great. I think he is the White Rabbit, and I can't wait for whatever that means. I can't wait for what character he's doing. Can't wait for the reveal. Can't wait for more of this. And I hope it's not just Friday he's back. I do want to see him. But now if it's him, yeah, let's build this up. Like, let's keep going. And if it is with Seth and the Fireflies and Lantern, I would feel like that would be the story where we wait till after Extreme Rules or at Extreme Rules and you get that. And maybe Seth is the next story. But absolutely loving it. Very smart stuff, very clever stuff. Big fan of it. So yeah, that's the shit I want to see in WWE. That felt like it was missing for years. And whether it's them, whether it's Bray Wyatt, Combo 2, the fact that it's back and happening, perfect. Sign me up. Makes me even more in love with the product. So yeah, that is going to do it for today's Travis Told You. Again, sorry I was not live. Just the internet issues, did not want to risk and stuff like that. But hopefully the next one I will be. And yeah, thank you very much. When you hear from me next, I promise you it'll not be boring.